Today I'm going to show you how to make a pair of earrings with 12mm pearls and some crystals and seed beads. Now, I've only made one. We'll make the other one during the video here, but this is basically what it looks like. It's a pretty bold earring, but it's not too huge. It can be on the dainty side if you'd like. You can always use a smaller bead. You just have to adjust the amount of beads you use on the outside if you use a smaller bead. Now let's go through what we're going to need today for this project. Today we are going to use two 12mm round beads. Now I'm using a teal colored pearl, glass pearl. You can use a crystal or a gemstone or whatever you'd like that is 12mm round. And then you will need, of course, 2 ear wires. I'm just using little silver plated lever back ear wires. You're going to need an 8/0, an 11/0, and a 15/0 seed bead. I am using all one color. You, of course, can change that up and use different colors if you'd like, but I'm using a Toho, and it is the galvanized aluminum silver colored Toho seed beads. And then you will need 2 colors of 4mm Bicone crystals. Today I'm using the Preciosa crystals. These are really nice crystals. They're the machine cut. They're very smooth on the end so they don't cut your thread too badly. They're actually even smoother than, they're not quite as sharp as Swarovski crystals. So I'm kind of enjoying using these. I like to try different types. I like to go to different price points and try different kinds of crystals. I am not a bead snob, I guess you'd call it. I don't necessarily have to use always just a Swarovski crystal. I try different ones. So today I'm trying the Preciosa. And I'm using a two-tone. It's a teal two-tone. It's got 2 little colors in it for one of my crystals, and the other one is champagne. Now you will need 20 of one color and 18 of the other color, 38 in total. It just depends on your color scheming how many you'll need of each one. And this one, I did my crystals, I just kind of did one color and then the next color. I just alternated them. You could do 2 of one color and then 2 of another color here and then 2 of the other color here too. Kind of wish I had done that in the first place, but today I'm going to show you how to do the alternate colors just so that my earrings match. And these earrings are also double-sided. That's why you need as many crystals. It looks just as pretty from one side as the other side. So then you are going to need about an arm's length and a half of 8-pound Fireline and a beading needle. I'm using a size 10 English beading needle. And let's get readjusted here and start with our project. To start, you're going to pick up onto your needle 3 11/0, 8/0, 3 11/0, 8/0, 3 11/0. Then you will pick up your crystal, or not your crystal, your pearl, and go through the pearl. Bring all the beads down to the end of your thread. Just leave a short tail. Just bring your beads around and then sew up through all of your seed beads again. So from the tail side up, we're just going to go through all of our seed beads, making sure that we don't miss any. Hold on to your tail as you do this. It can be a little tricky. And then after you go through all your seed beads, you'll go back through your pearl. Hold on to your tail tightly and pull all of the seed beads until they hug around the pearl like this. And then we're going to go back up through all of these again. So hold on to the tail and just sew back up through all of the seed beads you just added. And you can do 3 or 4 at a time. You're not going to be able to get too many at once. Just make sure you don't miss any. Once you get them all around, pull on your tail and your working thread, and then go back through the pearl. Like this. Now, pick up 3/11 seed beads. Again, the same combination we did before, 3/11 and 8/0, 3/11 and 8/0, and 3/11 seed beads. Like this. And then we're coming out of this side of our pearl. We're going to go into the opposite side of the pearl. Continue holding on to your tail, and then just pull your working thread through and have your beads come up and hug around the pearl on the other side. Now we're coming out of our pearl here. We're going to sew up through all the beads we just added. Now they're a little loose and wobbly, so you may have to put your thumb over the top to pull your thread through. Once you get through the last 3/11 seed beads, pull your thread through, of course, and then go back through the pearl, just like this. And this is what you should have. Now we are going to sew back up through the beads we just sewed into. One more time. Got my tail tangled in there. Once you've come through all of your beads, you're exiting here out of the little 11/0. You will pick up an 8/0 onto your needle. And then you'll go into the next set of beads on the other side here. And sew through all of them. And as you go through your first set of beads that you've gone through, just pull your little 8/0 into place between the 11/0s here. And then continue sewing up through the rest of your beads on this side. And once you get through the last 11/0 on this side, then you will pick up another 8/0 and you will go through the beads on the other side. Then you'll just sew up all the way around all of your beads until you get to where your tail is. Okay, so once you are exiting this little 8/0 seed bead here on the top, after you've cut your tail off, you will pick up 4 11/0 seed beads onto your needle, like this. And you're going to go from this 8/0 seed bead to this 8/0 seed bead. And we're just going to lay the 11/0s on top of the other 11/0s in our base here, just like this. And we're going to go all the way around placing 11O seed beads on top of the 11O seed beads between the 8O seed beads. So we're coming from this one, we're going to this 8O seed bead, we're going to go into the next with 4 11O seed beads on our thread and just pull it. And again, 4 11O seed beads, and we're going to go into the next 8O seed bead. And again, from one 8O to the next 8O. And again. Okay, on our last one, we'll pick up our 4 11O seed beads, and we'll just come up through just the 8O, avoiding the 11Os on the other side, just like this. And this is what you should have. Now, we are going to pick up a 15O seed bead, a crystal. I'm going to start with my teal color crystals, and then a 15O. So you'll have this on your needle. You'll go from this 8O seed bead, avoiding all the 11Os on both sides. Just go into the next 8O seed bead on top here. And pull the crystal down on top of the 11Os that you just added, just like this. Make sure there's no slack, and then pull or pick up on your needle your next color, your 15O, next color of 4mm bicone, and a 15O seed bead, like this. And then you're going to go from this 8O to this 8O right here, and we're going to pull that one down on top. And we're going to do this all the way around, alternating colors. And just go through the 8O seed bead here. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And once you have put on your last crystal, you'll be coming out between your 8O and your 11O here. We're going to turn our work over, pull your thread to where it's coming out forward so that you can now place crystals on this side of your earring. So you're going to pick up a 15O. On this side, I have a teal colored crystal, so I'm now going to be working in this direction since my thread is coming out this way. So I am going to pick up a 15O, a teal crystal, and a 15O, and then I'm just going to go into my next 8O, trying to avoid all the 11Os and the crystal on the other side and all that stuff, and just place my crystal on. Now, when you do your first crystal on this side, make sure that your crystals on the other side did not loosen. Make sure everything is tight and looking good. And then pick up a 15O, and we'll do our next color crystal. 15O crystal, 15O, go into our next 8O seed bead right here. And pull. Just like that. And then I will put on my last crystal on this side. I'm going to come up through just the 8O and try to avoid everything else on the other side of my 8O, which can be a trick, but it can be done. Just like that. Now we have something that looks like this. Now, after we've put our crystals on, we'll be exiting this little 8O seed bead right here. Now, we have these little 11O seed beads on the top between our crystals here that we added in our second step. So what we're going to do is we're going to just sew up through these little 11 seed beads, all 4 of them here. And we're going to get to the other side of our piece. This will position our thread so that we can do our next step and put on our connection for our ear wire. So after I've gone through those little 11 seed beads, I'll go into the 8. I'm just going to travel around the original base of our earring here, going up through the next set of 11 O's, and then I will travel down into the next 8 I want to go all the way around until I get to the very bottom 8 here, where the hole of my pearl is. So I'll go up through these 4 11 O's now, or 3 or 4, yep, 4. And then into, well, actually, I'm just going to stay right there. After you've traveled through all of your little 11 O's and 8 O's on the side, before you get to the very bottom 8 exit out the 11 and stay right there. And then you're going to pick up 2 11 seed beads, an 8 seed bead, and 2 11 seed beads. And then on the top here, where we're exiting, let's get real close. We're exiting between this 8 and this 11 We are then going to just slide into the next set of 11 O's and go through all 4 of them. Just like this. And now you should have a little loop on top that looks like this. It's kind of strange looking at this point, but that's okay. That'll change as we finish up our earring. So now we're exiting out of these little 4 seed beads after we've made our loop. We're going to go into the next 8 and we're going to travel all the way down these beads again on the outside of our base here. I'm going to go into the next 4 seed beads, and then I'm going to come through the next 8 and then I'm just going to come through 1 11 So I'll show you exactly where we're at on our piece here. And this is the top of our piece right here. We've traveled all the way down. We've traveled through these 4 seed beads, this 8 these 4 seed beads, and this 8 and 1 11 We are now in the set of 4 11 seed beads on the bottom of our earring. So we will have 3 11 seed beads and an 8 right at the very bottom from where our thread is exiting. Now we're going to make like a little fringe at the bottom here to make it a little fancier. So we want to do this between the 11 seed beads. We'll place a fringe here, and then we'll come back up our fringe and go into our next 11 and then as we exit that 11 we'll make another fringe between the 11 So now that we are between 2 of our 11 we'll start our fringe. We'll pick up 3 15 seed beads, and I'm going to start with a champagne colored Bicone crystal, and then I'm going to pick up a 15 So I've got 3 15 a crystal, and a 15 I'm going to lay my work down and just drop these down to the earring here. Then I am going to go around the 15 seed bead, just ignore it, and go up into the crystal and the 3 15 seed beads. Now I'm just exiting the top of that 15 I'm going to put my finger on top of it and pull my needle through. Yeah, that wasn't very graceful. You'll just pull your working thread. You can hold on to the crystal or the 15-0 that you put on the bottom and pull your working thread until your little fringe is flush against the two 11-0s that it's in between. And then we're coming out between the 11-0s again and right out of the 15-0 in the fringe here. So we're going to go into the next 11-0 right here and pull our needle through like this. And now we're going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads. And I'm going to use my next color of Bicone crystal and a 15-0. So this time we're going to use 4 15-0s, a crystal, and 1 15-0. This graduates it, makes the next fringe a little bit longer. And now I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to go around the 15-0 seed bead and then up through the crystal and all 4 of my 15-0s. I'm just going to place my thumb on top and pull my needle through. And then I'm going to grab a hold of the crystal and pull my working thread and pull this up flush to my work. Sometimes it takes a little bit of manipulation to get it up there. Now, once you have it up there, you're coming out of this little 15-0 and you're right in between the 11-0s, so you will go into the next 11-0 seed bead, right here. And again, pick up 5 15-0s onto your needle, a 4mm crystal, and a 15-0 like this. And then we'll drop them down again. And then do the same thing we've been doing. Go around the 15-0 through the crystal and all the 15-0s on top. If you'd like to in one stroke, you can come up through the 11-0, the next 11-0. Instead of holding on to it, pulling your thread through, and then going through the 11-0. After you've done that, you can just come through the next one if you'd like. That works fine too. Now we are between the 11-0 and the 8-0 on the bottom here. We're going to do this fringe just a little bit differently. We're going to pick up 6 15-0s onto our needle, and then our crystal, and then a 15-0, and we're going to drop them down, and then we're going to go around the 15-0 and just through the crystal this time, not through all the other 15-0s, just the crystal. And hold on to the crystal and pull. Make sure everything's nice and secure. Then pick up 6 more of your 15-0 seed beads. And now we are going to come up into the 11-0 on the other side of the 8-0. So when we started this, we were between the 11-0 and 8-0 on this side. We want to come up between the 8-0 and 11-0 on this side. So we'll just go into the 11-0 on the opposite side of the 8-0 on the bottom here and just pull through. Just like that. Now it looks kind of funny right now. That's okay. We'll fix that in a minute. We're going to finish and we're going to do 3 fringe just like these on this side. Now, so we're coming between the two 11-0s here. And now we want to do exactly the same thing we did on the other side. So we're going to pick up 5 15-0s. The same color that we have in this one here for our crystal. And a 15-0. And drop them down. And then we're going to go around our 15-0 and back up through the 15-0s on top of the crystal. And then into the 11-0 on the other side. Just like that. And now we are positioned between our next two 11-0 seed beads here. If you go into the seed bead instead of pulling through and then going through the seed bead, it pulls your little fringe up tight so that you don't have to argue with it as much. I just showed you the other way on the other side because it's simpler to explain. But now that I've come through the next 11-0 seed bead, I am positioned between the next two 11-0 seed beads. And I am ready to pick up my next fringe, which will be 4 15-0 seed beads. We'll pick up 4. We'll pick up our next crystal so that we're matching on this side. And then we will pick up a 15-0 seed bead. And again, we'll drop them down. And the same thing again. Go around the 15-0, through the crystal, through all the 15-0s, and then into the 11-0 seed bead on the next side from where you're exiting. So you're exiting on one side. You're going to come through the next 11-0 so that you are now between the two 11-0s and positioned for your next fringe. Now we are exiting between the two 15-0s on the side, and we will add our last, or not 15-0s, 11-0s, and we will add our last fringe. So we'll pick up 3 15-0 seed beads and our last color Bicone crystal here, and a 15-0, just like this. Drop them down. And then we will go around the 15-0, up through the crystal, up through the 15-0s, up through the next 11-0 seed bead, and pull tight. Make sure your fringe is nice and tight, that there isn't any slack on your fringe. And now we are going to sew through our base again and get up to the top and finish up our little hook here. Then we will come back down around this side and add a little 8-0 in the center of our middle fringe, and we will tie off after we're done with that. So now what we will do is we're coming out of our little 11-0 between the 11-0 and the 8-0 here on our base. We are going to go into the 8-0 and then come up. If you can grab the 11-0s, that's great. Come up through the 11-0 seed beads. And then we'll go through the rest of our 11-0s here. And then through the 8-0 and the 11-0s on the other side of the 8-0. Here. Then you're going to come through the next two 11-0s here. You'll be right underneath the little 11-0s you added for your loop, and you'll go right up into those 11-0s. and then you'll go into the 8-0. Once you're in this 8-0 seed bead, you will pick up 6 15-0 seed beads. You're coming out of this side of the 8-0. You're going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 and pull these little 15-0s into a circle like this. I'm going to turn my work over just so I can get to it a little bit better. Now this little loop here is where I'm going to add my ear wire, so I want to reinforce it. So I'm going to go back up around all of my beads again, go through all of them, and then back through my 8-0 like this. And then I'm going to sew into the 11-0s on the bottom here, right here. And pull everything neat if you can. You'll have to arrange it as you sew so that it doesn't get all funny looking. And then we're coming out of these two little 11-0s here, so we're going to go into the 8-0 on the base. And now we're going to sew down our base again until we can get to this bottom 8-0 here. So we're going to sew, I'm coming out of the 8-0. I want to grab the 11-0s on my base. I want to make sure I'm not grabbing any 15-0s from the crystals or anything. And just come up through. And I'm just going to continue to sew down through my base beads. Need to get through this 8-0 and it's being difficult. There we go. And through the 11-0s again. Down through the 8-0. Now, where your fringe is, it's a little bit difficult, so push your fringe down like this. Let's get really, oop, not that close. Goodness sakes, I guess we're close enough. All right, so we're going to go into these 11-0s that we have our fringes hooked to, right here. Until we get to the 8-0. We're just going to go through the 8-0 and exit, just like this. Now, this is where we are at. We are right here coming out of this 8-0. Now, our little 15-0s on our little bottom fringe here, we want to pick up the first one. The one right underneath where we're exiting our 8-0. Just pick up one, just like this. And then pick up an 8-0 seed bead onto your needle. And then you're going to go into the bottom of the seed bead, the first 15-0 seed bead on the other side of your fringe here. Go into the bottom of this 15-0. Just like that. Then you're going to pull the 8-0 up, push it down in between here, the little fringe like this. Then you're going to come back up into the 8-0 on your base, right here. So we're going to come up into that 8-0 seed bead. And if you grab the 11-0 next to it, that's okay, because we're going to sew back up through those anyway. So just go ahead and pull through. Just like that. Now, my needle is underneath this crystal here. I'm going to just push it through so I can see. I am just going to hop up into these 11-0 seed beads here and sew my way back up. Once I get up here past the 11-0s where my fringe is, and between the 11-0 on the other side of the 8-0 here, I'm just going to tie myself a little half hitch knot right on the thread bridge that connects the 15-0 to the crystal here. Just make really sure that you get between the beads. That wasn't very good. Let's do that again. Actually, I'm going to hop up into this crystal. You can tie off wherever you want, wherever it's best, just as long as your crystals or your beads, your thread doesn't show. So just find a nice spot somewhere. I'm having an issue trying to find a nice spot. So I'm going to go through this 8-0 here, and I'm going to make a half hitch knot here. Just don't want to impose upon your beads so that they look strange or anything, because your thread is coming through them funny. Let's find a place to sew up through, and then just cut your thread off. You can, of course, sew through more and tie off more if you'd like. Earrings don't generally take too much of a beating, so I should be safe with what I've done here. I've got a little bit of extra thread sticking out. So what I'm going to do, a little trick, whenever that happens and you can't get close enough, you could use your end cutters if you'd like. But if you use a thread burner, you won't have to do this. But if you don't use a thread burner, just take a lighter and just very lightly curl your Fireline down. That kind of seals it off, and it hides it, and it keeps it from unraveling also. It's actually a pretty good way to end it. Just like that. And then we are going to get an ear wire. I'm going to back off just a little bit. I'm going to ear wire right here. I'm going to open my ear wire. There's a little loop on it. I'm just going to open it like that. I'm going to slide it onto this loop here that I've made with my 15-0 seed beads. Just like this. And then I am going to close my loop. And this is what my earring looks like. And here is the mate. Get a nice little view of this. That's what they look like. And of course you can bunch these up, or you can spread them out. You can arrange them however you want. Go through and make sure that nothing's squished up and pretty. And before you put your ear wires on, you might want to look at them too. See, I should have put it on to where it faced this way. If this is the front of my earring here, because either side might look a little different than the other side. So see, this one's a little bit more forward. The same here. So just make sure you put your ear wires on. I'll take this one off and redo it to where your fronts of your earrings look the same. It doesn't matter which side you use, whichever one you prefer. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I will see you again in a week or two. Have a good day. Bye-bye.